What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And today I want to talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I recently got back into this game. Is the reason because that Star Wars Outlaws is finally having a release date. Hopefully it will hold up to that on August 30th of 2024 of this year. And it's the reason why I decided to make a video on this as well, because I've been really wanting to talk about Jedi Survivor, and I've thought about maybe eventually, maybe possibly making a video on Jedi Fallen Order as well. But I don't think I really need to, because this is where I'm going to say that I feel like when it comes to Jedi Survivor, this game has a much better story than it was in the first one. But however, in the first one, Jedi Fallen Order, it was amazing. I love Star Wars themed movies, obviously, or even games for that matter, and hence the reason I'm so excited for Outlaws. And I think that when it comes to Star Wars games in general, I think whether if it's new stuff like we have now, and Outlaws coming out later this year in August, it's really amazing of how far gaming has come when it comes to Star Wars IPs. I think when it comes to Jedi Survivor or Jedi Fallen Order, it's totally badass of playing as a Jedi Knight. It's like, what's not to like about playing as a fucking Jedi? So, okay, here's the thing. There's one thing I really want to talk about Jedi Survivor, really. It's not just because of its story. It's the fact that where this game really has an underlining, of really interpreting of where a game should be possibly canonical to that of the original franchise of movies. Specifically, whether if it's like the original series back from 1977 and through, I believe it was 1980 or 82 with Return of the Jedi. And I actually really recently started watching those again. And so what I'm saying is that this is the reason. This is another reason why I decided to get back into Jedi Survivor as well, because I am a huge Star Wars fan. I've always been a huge Star Wars fan ever since I was growing up, and I think where Jedi Survivor really takes the cake in everything. Like I said, it's not just about the story. It's the canonical feeling to it, and where this game actually takes place into the prequel series. And for what I understand is that this game, or even Fallen Order, I believe they take place before the events of Revenge of the Sith. I think I had that partially right, so my apologies if I kind of have a little misleading interpretation on that. So it's like I said. So I think when it comes to Jedi Survivor, though, for what I've noticed, is the fact that, this game really does a lot of things that I really wasn't quite expecting from the first one, which was Fallen Order. And what I mean by that is the fact that all the mechanics from Fallen Order are in Jedi Survivor, but they are more refined. They are revamped in so many different types of combat scenarios and ways, and how unique you can be in terms of combat, right? And that's where I think Jedi Survivor really does a fantastic job on that. And so it's like I guess what I'm really trying to get to here as well is in fact that, this game, oh my God, I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around this. So my apologies on this, because I find this video a little hard to do in a way, because it's really hard to come up of what I really want to talk about, but I think I'm doing okay. So bear with me here. The level structure of this game, that is one thing I will really talk about here, though, too, for a little bit here. It's fantastic. I love the Metroidvania type of quality to that what Fallen Order was able to do, and there are certain areas that you can't necessarily unlock right away. You have to find specific types of areas and get specific types of said pieces or a locker or a key or something like that to unlock a certain area. And that's where the Metroidvania feels like in this game. And Fallen Order actually did that fairly well, or actually amazingly well, I might add. And so that's why I'm saying, that's what I love about games like this. It does have a little bit of a Dark Souls feel to it, because you do have a dodge mechanic. you can rest and be able to put your attribute skill points into different types of attributes, whether it's a lightsaber or your force and everything else, which is really cool. I really love that implementation on how it's going to provide Cal Kestis, played by Cameron Monaghan, and it does it so well. And that's one thing when it comes to Jedi Survivor. It's better from what Jedi Fallen Order did in so many different types of concepts and gameplay aesthetics to it, because you are able to find alternative ways. Like unlocking shortcuts, which is really cool. That's where the Dark Souls feel to it, of the game feels, and that's really good. I like that. I like that concept, and I'm really glad that they brought that in, because so that way you don't have to worry about going through a specific puzzle again or traversing through that puzzle that you already previously finished. And so I think that's where this game does it perfectly in terms of that type of the environment of exploration. That's one thing. I think that's one thing Fallen Order did magnificently well, and Jedi Survivor did magnificently well with its exploration. Okay, let's talk about the combat. I feel like the combat is it's actually very good. It's much more. It's a little bit more advanced because, as I previously mentioned, you can put different types of skills into your attributes for as Cal Kestis. Like I said, whether if it's Force, lightsaber, or like telekinesis, you can do different types of powers. But that's where this game really does an awesome job with its mechanical structure of the game itself when it comes to gameplay. I feel when it comes to gameplay in most games, sometimes it doesn't always do it very well and doesn't know how to explain it very well. But I think when it comes to Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, these games really tell or show you what you need, what you should do, or what you want to do in terms of skills, and how to attribute those skills into the different types of attributes into those skills, and utilize those skills to the utmost of being a very powerful Jedi. And that's where Jedi Survivor, I think, did such an awesome job with that. And like I said, what's not to like about being a Jedi? I mean, it's like one of the most magnificent things. Other than, like The Force Unleashed, both games by Sam Witwer playing as Star Killer in those games, which were absolutely magnificent. Absolutely loved them. But playing as a Jedi in a game like Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, I'm sorry, but I think that these games really take the cake in the combat front, into the story aspect, making these stories from Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor canonical to that of the prequel movies rather than the original franchise back in the day of old school. And I think that this game really does an awesome job with that. I love the fact that it feels different, but yet familiar. I think that's where Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order does it magnificently well on that. And so I think that's where Jedi Survivor, I think it is better to a certain degree in terms of its combat mechanics, its story, and the canonical thing. And that's one thing I want to really discuss here, though, too, as I previously mentioned, is the canonical thing. Most games do not do canon stories very well. I think when it came to Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, I think that these games really do it very well of following a certain type of story, whether if it's a backstory of sorts to that of the prequel movies of Star Wars. Okay, what I've learned with Star Wars Outlaws is that that game actually takes place, I believe, before the events of Return of the Jedi. I think if I remember correctly. And so, but it's going to have different types of, it's going to have like a Star Wars filter, much like from what the original franchise of Star Wars movies did. And that's where I think that's where that game is really going to be fairly unique in terms of in terms of world building, concept design, art design, and maybe cutscene design, maybe possibly, I would say. I mean, I think that's really the most interesting way of putting it. But getting to the point is that I think Jedi Survivor does also a great job with its customization. You can customize Cal Kestis with different types of ponchos or any other types of outfits as you see fit, as much as you want if you want to. You can also customize your lightsabers. The lightsabers really are they're definitely the pinnacle when it comes to Jedi Survivor or Fallen Order. And that's where I think this game, it makes it even more unique. I love the fact that you're able to shoot a blaster if you want to, in terms of different types of combat styles or stances. And that's where this game actually does it fairly well as well, is that you can do different types of stances with your lightsabers. And one in particular is that I was actually able to unlock a lightsaber to where it plays much like of a great sword from that of Skyrim or from a Dark Souls or Bloodborne or any other type of Soulsborne games, obviously, because this game, Jedi Survivor, definitely plays like that of a Soulsborne game, because you are able to rest, your enemies will respawn, and that's another thing that kind of frustrates me a little bit, but I do kind of like that mechanic because it gives you incentive of maybe possibly going through the same area again and farm out that XP. You can actually do that, which is really cool. I like that concept. I like the fact of how you're able to utilize that and make it much more of a higher benefit or advantage for Cal Kestis to level up even more if you want to do that, or even so. So I think when it comes to, I always find it hard to believe that when it comes to a game like this, whether if it's canonical to the prequel movie series of Star Wars, or being able to show off what was possible and how it was going to make sense into the prequel movie series. You know what I mean? And my apologies if that sounded cryptic. So that wasn't my intention. So that's what I'm saying, is that I really think that's where this game, it does it so, like I said, it does it so well. It has to do with the execution of the Order of 66, if I remember correctly. And so it's fascinating to what a game can actually do to be not just canonical to that of the newer prequel movie series of Star Wars, but I think that's where this game really shows off its story, and that's where I think this game really does it so well. I really think that this game really does a lot of things that, like I said, I was thoroughly impressed with Fallen Order, absolutely loved it, and that's one thing I really want to put into here as well, is that the traversal in this game is tedious. It is tedious. But once you finally get to the gist of things and to understand everything, it will all make sense. You have to really be careful of what you have to do in order to traverse certain areas, because, like I said, you are able to open up things in the game, doing alternative routes, or you've unlocked this shortcut, right? And as I previously mentioned. So that's where this game really brings the Dark Souls feel to it, and that's where this game really, it's so weird how they are able to implement that, but I think that's where they really wanted to go with it, so that way you can be able to do what I previously mentioned. So my apologies for the repetition on that. I was literally trying to find out how I can make my point and come across, and so usually I have a hard time doing that, so my apologies. But so this is what I'm saying. I think when it comes to a Star Wars game, I think Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor did it right. They did it proper, and it shows. It shows in the story, it shows in the combat, it shows what a Star Wars game should be. And I think, as I previously mentioned about Star Wars Outlaws, I think that game is going to be very well promising. While that game is actually ended up getting, not game, but the story trailer for Star Wars Outlaws is actually getting a lot of flack from the internet. And the reason why it's getting a lot of flack is because Kay Vest does not look very good. She doesn't look very good in terms of quality of character or vice versa. In my personal opinion, I think that she looks fine, and I think a lot of people are just trying to create controversy over it, and I think, in my personal opinion, it's fucking stupid. Okay? My apologies for the language, but it's true. I don't understand why people think that they just. I just don't understand people in general sometimes as to why they think that things not. Why things in games are not always going to look the greatest. But, here's the thing. The game does not come out till August 30th. The game is still going over a finished phase, okay? It's going over product management. There's still a lot of touches to be involved. So what I'm saying is that give the game time before the game comes out in August. That's what I'm saying. Okay? And that's what I'm saying. This is the problem that we have in today's society. People are unhappy for what they see in game trailers or gameplay demos, is because they're rushing to judgment, and they obviously don't understand what game developing is all about, even though that's the professionals do, because they've been in the industry for so long. But you understand where I'm going with this. So, okay. So now, I am totally fine. Just trying to make a little bit of a rant there, and I think I proved my point. But I really think that Jedi Survivor has some amazing set pieces. I love the fact that how it looks. I love its graphical fidelity, its combat fidelity. And what I will say, I think, like I said, this game is definitely better. And as I previously mentioned about the traversal, it is a little bit tedious. It can be. But once you really get to understand the whole entire crux of it, the whole entire context, it will all make sense. And and then when your memory finally serves you correctly, you will finally be able to understand and know what you need to do. And I think that's where this game... I would say I think Jedi Survivor is pretty forgiving, even though it does play a little bit of a Dark Souls. And so that's why I'm saying I really think that, not Massive Entertainment, excuse me, I think that Respawn Entertainment did a fantastic job with these games, and I'm hoping to see what they would do in the next Star Wars game, if they ever do make one. I think that there's another one in the works. But anyways, too much further ado. This is Jake from Citizen JV. Thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. Any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. And I'll chat with you guys later, and you guys have a good rest of your weekend.